Andrea Fowler. I'm so happy to talk to you about your journey in real estate. You know, I adore you and I just have so much mad respect. You have built an incredible business, and you're always challenging me to think bigger. You're a great risk taker. There's just so much about you that I think is so unique. But I want to share your story. So let's just start at the beginning. Talk a little bit about how'd you get into this crazy business?
Okay. So it really started, I would say, going back to undergrad. Like I graduated from LSU in spring 10. So I actually moved to Dallas January of 10. And I think at that time I realized I wanted to do something like public affairs type of thing, but didn't necessarily know what that was until grad school. And I went to grad school, University of North Texas. So that's how I ended up in DFW. And I realized then
From
that
Louisiana. You're from
yeah,
Louisiana. That's
originally from Louisiana, so I have my bachelor's from LSU. Go Tigers! And I realized that I want to do public affairs, focusing on like housing, community development, or economic development. So my goal was always to help people either become homeowners from the city standpoint, or bring in jobs from a city standpoint with businesses coming in, which it all ties into everything that I love to do in this business. So that was the thing that made me want to get into it. So it just so happened to be
hang on. Where did that passion come from though? That passion just for home ownership and creating jobs or changing?
I think it was mainly because like I grew up in a family where my parents didn't really have a lot, but we had a home, and that's all they always talked about. Like that was their thing. So it made me realize that you don't have to have a lot, but you can still own a home. And that was something that my parents talked about all the time. And I realized that growing wealth, owning a home is one of those tools that you can use. And so I was just like, my parents have that thing, but I don't think they think of wealth when it comes to their home. They think of this is just a place I stay. Like they've been in the home. They've been in my childhood home since the 90s. So I pretty much was raised in that home and they still live there because they don't think to move around and build the wealth part. But I've realized in my business, I want people to realize that like each home gets you wealthier each time you go into it. So that was kind of like the turning point in how I went to real estate, because I started thinking we need to start teaching people more about the wealth building aspect of real estate. Whether it's owning a home, whether it's owning multiple homes, there's still a wealth building tool with that. And so after doing grad school, my whole thing was just about development and helping people understand how development works. It's always the struggle with some people are like, oh, well, we need the streets here, we need the streets there. I'm like, they don't have the tax money from the rooftops to get all of those things in. And if you want it now, then that means everybody's property taxes are going up and you're complaining about that. So you got to pick and choose which one you want, because the counties, the cities, they need the money. And where do they get the money from? The businesses and the residents in there. So if we don't have that, then your tax base is based on your residents, which is going to be higher for residents until we get the infrastructures and stuff.
I like it. Okay, so you got your real estate license, and let's talk about starting in real estate. What did you do? How did it go at the beginning?
Got it. So my start in real estate, actually, just take it back a little bit. So I finished grad school in 2012, and my first jobs worked for nonprofits in South Dallas and South Oak Cliff. So again, helping people understand wealth and becoming homeowners. And within those jobs in those areas, we would do home buyer workshops, or I would do homeownership counseling. So my background before actually getting into real estate here with DPR was homeownership counseling. And so when I got into real estate for myself, I just took those same skills I learned at the nonprofit and brought them into my business. So in the beginning, most of my business was based on home buyer workshops on the weekend. And I connected with the city of Louisville because I lived in Louisville at that time. And I connected with the library. And I said, well, how much does it cost to rent one of these little rooms? I just need a conference room. And like, it's free of your residence. So I'm like, great. So I know in the beginning, I tell a lot of new agents, I'm like, to be successful in real estate, you really don't have to spend a lot of money, especially if you don't have it. I got in 23. So not 23, I got in 2013. So I was 25 at that time, like still a few years out of grad school and working at a nonprofit. I barely was making $30,000 a year. So I needed to be resourceful. And so I went to the library and I asked them, could I reserve a room? I connected with the lender and we would do home buyer workshops like once a quarter. And it would be people I never knew, but the library they would help me promote it. So I was able to meet people that I did not know in my database to come to these workshops because they saw it a lot.
I love it. So at that time, were you using social media right out of the gate? Because obviously that's become a big piece of your business.
Right.
Talk a little just about the journey of how you've grown. You had your best year ever last year.
I did.
It's continuing to grow, but what's the journey been like? You're 10 years in, girl.
Yeah, I know that came out so fast. This is like the one job that I didn't quit after a few months. But no, social media has always been a major part of my business. Like I'm a millennial, so I've been on social media for years. And I remember being on Twitter and a sorority sister had tweeted, social media, if you're not using it correctly, it helps you. She's like, your network is your net worth. And so I was just like, net worth? Like, how are you connected on Twitter? Like, who you connecting with? I didn't get it that time. So I was just like, maybe I could change my mindset and find a way to make money using social media as that tool, because that was not the thing for me at that time. And so that's kind of when I dug a little deeper into real estate. And then there's like my first year wasn't like 2014 is my first full year. And people would be like, oh my gosh, the market is so hot. And I'm like, I'm on my couch. It is not hot. I'm not feeling that fire. I'm not feeling it.
Your
But
reality is not my reality.
right. And so I took that time to be like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go look at model homes and I'm going to go talk to builders and I'm going to get more information about what it takes to build a home and just do videos on these houses and go from there. So it's a big thing on Instagram now. I was doing these model walkthroughs in 2014 and 15 when people weren't doing them. And I built my new construction business based on that. And I didn't think people were really looking at it because at that time, Instagram didn't really give you views or things like that. They just gave you like the likes and things. And so I remember one day I was just slow to post that day and people were texting me or sending me DMs like, where's the Wild Wednesday for today? I haven't seen the Wild Wednesday. I was like, oh, okay. People actually pay attention to it. And I remember one day I really realized people were paying attention to it is that my database was changing or what people were buying was changing. And then I realized I had like 10 clients under contract, but it was all new builds. That meant I had to wait for my money. And I remember being disturbed by that at the beginning, but another agent in the office was like, well, that's actually really cool because now you know when your next paycheck's gonna come in. Like you put up a pipeline for your income. And so now you know in these months, this is what my income has been. And that conversation changed my mind about how I looked at new construction, especially if they wanted to build. And so that kind of built my business out.
Yeah. Well, and I think what made you really successful with social media out of the gate is you got real consistent with it from the beginning, right? So you had your
Yes.
Wild Wednesdays and you had a real system that you did. You posted the specific things at specific times, and you went all in on a strategy. You really were a pioneer. I mean, there was not a lot of realtors using that as a platform to really drive business. They were maybe communicating to people they knew a little bit, but they weren't really driving unmet business. Not like it is now, right?
Right. Definitely not like it is now, because then it's funny. An agent I know who I went to college with, she lives in Louisiana. She was like, that is so funny how you were doing this beforehand, before anybody was doing this. And I was just like, it's a great trendsetter. Like, of course, they're doing it at a bigger scale now. But then it was just me and my little camera phone just out showing videos, but the house had to wow me. So if it didn't wow me, I probably wasn't posting anything, which, after I look at real estate, like once you've seen one, you've seen them all. So a lot of them don't really wow you that much anymore. But I think now the wow is more so, how did they decorate this model home? Did they really go all out? Did they make this feel functional in today's time? Does it make sense to even show for people? Because people are going to instantly be wowed just on a nice looking kitchen, like and bathroom, because that's the norm. But I'm more so, what's the functions of it? Does it even make sense for people?
Yeah, no, I love that. So, so talk a little bit. So you grew through social media,
Mhm.
you started another business.
I did.
You're very much you're a very creative thinker. I think that's one of your secret sauces. You do build on some, on the tried and true models, but you're a very creative person. You come up with ideas and you're not afraid to step out and execute.
Mhm.
You started a new business this year. or not this year, several years ago.
Mhm.
Just got to kind of learn just on entrepreneurship in a totally different way. What would you say some of the biggest lessons you've learned, whether that be just in real estate or in life, just as you've gone on this journey? What have you learned?
I think something that I take within myself all the time is always to bet on myself. And I remember, like, I recently just closed that new business, and I remember having a conversation with one of my friends, and he was just like, something no one can ever take from you is saying that you need someone else's help to do what you want to do. He's like, you're gonna always do what you want to do. You're always gonna put the motion forward. You're gonna figure it out. So no one can really take that away from you. And so that was a blessing in disguise for me, because I just felt like a lot was going on in the background from that situation. But I think betting on myself is always the thing that I'm willing to do, regardless if it's like something that's just Andrea feel like she wants to do. That's kind of those things. But being able to bet on myself and really staying true to what I'm passionate about. So within that adventure, it was a hair store, which is great. I change my hair like all the time. I play around with products all the time. So it was a fun thing. It just became a lot. Retail is a lot. And I wasn't aware of all the a lot that it takes. And so I was just quick to be on my feet to be like, this is not healthy for you with stress that you have in real estate and the stress of this business. Because with the retail business, I was looking at the numbers every single day. Whereas my real estate business, I'm probably not paying attention to what my numbers are doing. It's like end of the month or maybe the quarter. That's the performance that I'm looking at. With store, I was looking every single day. And so that became stressful. And, it's just like, okay, I'm not making enough to do this. I have to bring in this money from here. And it just became a stressful thing. But like I said, I'm always willing to bet on myself. And so if I see an open lane, I'm probably going to, because I'd rather know that I tried besides me thinking I did not try.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you're a learning-based person, you realize that the win sometimes is the learn or the who you become in the journey, right? It's not always the outcome, right? It's that we get to
Right.
go on this like amazing journey in our lives of learning and of growing, and then look back and go, not just, wow, what have I accomplished, but wow, look who I've become. I'm a different woman than I was a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because
Right.
of the challenges that I've been willing to accept and the things that the fires I've been willing to walk through, really does create the lasting opportunities, I think. So
Right. And I enjoy that. Like I tell people there's really no such thing as failure. Everything's a learning lesson. So whenever I'm feeling a certain way about certain things, and I feel that way even in my real estate business, it's more so like before you start to lose it, Andrea, what is the learning lesson that you can learn here? It's just like if clients are going back and forth over things that are very small and minor, it's for me to go back and say, what did you not tell me? Because if you didn't tell them something, this is why they're acting that way. But if you tell people in advance, this is what you should expect, expectations are already met, and it's less issues that you have in the future.
yeah, no, I think that's really great advice. And what is your advice to people? Because you kind of touched on this, but really your story is about creating businesses around your passions, right? I mean, the whole
Mhm.
reason you got into real estate was that you had a passion for creating wealth
Mhm.
for people and for changing communities, right? And you've kept that really as a recurring desire and heart of your business, right? And
Mhm.
you have a passion for home decor, right? And so you've utilized that in your business and social
Right.
media, right? So you've really done a good job of figuring out what you're great at, what you're passionate about.
Mhm.
So what's your advice to people who maybe feel like they're not in that vein yet? How do you determine that? And then how do you build on your passions?
I would say pretty much start with what you're good at, or just things that you want to aspire to do. Start with that. I have friends all the time who's just like, well, I don't know what I'm great at. I'm like, you didn't get this far in life without figuring out what you're not great at. You know what you enjoy, you know what you'll do, and no one has to pay you for it. You already know what those things are. Find that passion that you have in a lot of different things. Like for instance, like the home decor stuff, that was not something I thought I had a passion on. I just knew I just did it. And I remember talking to a friend, one of my roommates in college. She's like, no, you didn't have the normal college student apartment. And I was like, yes, I did. All that stuff came from Walmart. Like I put together all my furniture. She was like, yeah, but you added a little stuff too. And I was just like, I did not notice that. And I was like, what I've learned growing from just even college to now, things that came naturally to me, I always thought that wasn't the route I was supposed to go because it came too easy. Like I felt like everything had to be a challenge. But now that I'm older, I realize some things that come naturally to you is because those are things you're probably supposed to be doing. Like
Yeah.
that's just what you get up and do. And you don't stress about those different things. But I just thought everything was supposed to be hard. So do things that you're passionate about and you'll find a way to make that profitable. And sometimes you don't even have to. Sometimes it's just a stress reliever. Like me being at Home Goods, I don't have to buy anything, but if I can sit and find something and create like something to go on, I actually got to lead this way. I was in Home Goods in Highland Village, and I found like this tray, and I grabbed different things to put on the tray because I just wanted to visualize it. And the lady was like, do you do this? And I'm like, no, I'm just in here just creating because I just needed that stress relief. And she was like, and then we got to talking more, and she was just like, what do you do? And I said, I'm a real estate, and it became a lead from there, because they wanted to do some other stuff. But it was just having those conversations with just things I like to do. And that's a stress reliever for me. So if it's something that helps you relieve stress, I'm not saying you have to make it a new venture or business venture, but you can find a way to make it that if that's what you desire.
Well, I think sometimes too, and you kind of mentioned your friend noted how your apartment was in college. I think sometimes what our personal gifts are, we don't always see them as gifts, right? Or we don't see them as geniuses because it just comes natural. And we look at somebody else and say, oh, they're really talented. They're really gifted. I wish I had that talent or that gift. And so
Right.
asking people around us that know us really well, like, what do you think I'm best at? Like, what is my superpower or my genius? Getting that feedback is huge.
Right. If you would have asked me maybe like 12 years ago, would I be in a sales job? Like, which is funny. Let me tell you this. I had my bachelor's in marketing, not marketing, management, I'm sorry. But for management and marketing majors, the only people who would show up to recruit us were sales positions. It was always a sales job. And I was just like, no, I'm supposed to be the CEO of somebody's business. I'm not a salesperson. I can't sell anything. So it's always funny to me to see where I am now. And I'm like, and I still tell people, I'm not a salesperson. And my friends are like, you really can sell. I'm like, no, I'm not a salesperson. You come to me because you want something. I just know how to give you the great advice to get you what you want. That's what I do. And so I have a friend that wants to get in real estate, and she was just like, but you just got to talk to people. I said, I find a common thing we have in common. Like if they say, for instance, they're from Louisiana, the first thing I'm going to say is, oh, we're from Louisiana, are you from? And then if they say somewhere in North Louisiana, like Shreveport, I'm like, oh, I'm from Reston. Oh, we're both from North Louisiana. That's a common thing. And so we get to talking about colleges, whether they went to, like someone who went to Texas A&M, I can say, oh, you guys are in the SEC, I went to LSU. It's just something common. Like I can talk football with you. Don't get too deep into other things, but I can talk about that with you. And you just find things that you have in common with people, and you just start the conversation from there. Because one, I tend to think I'm somewhat of an introvert. I can talk to people though. Like you put me in a crowd, I'll talk to people. I'm probably not going to be the one who's super talkative, but I'll talk to people.
Yeah.
But you just find those commonalities that you have with people and start a conversation, because that's what this business is. Having a lot of different conversations and finding things that you have in common.
Yeah. Definitely a people business. So what's next?
Right.
What's next for you? What's the future look like?
So what's next for me is learning to take a break. I actually told someone the other day, I said, the fact that I've closed the store and everyone's just like, so what's next? I always like, I must always be on the go for something, because it's like the first question I get asked a lot. And I said, well, I'm learning how to be still in this time. I'm just focusing on what I know I do best and being still. But what's next, and what I've just did like last night, is I've joined a KW community called Style to Design, because clearly I've been into like home decor stuff. And I've always wanted to, this year the goal was to add some type of staging or home decor part to my real estate business. And I always wanted to add something that makes my real estate business continue to grow. So just working through the details of that is pretty much what I want to do for this year. And I learned that I'm probably going to keep everything in my real estate realm because that's what I know best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I've learned this year. So that's gonna be next, like Accents by Andrea. And now that I have that community, it makes it a little bit easier. So I don't have to go and sift through like the different websites that I normally go through to figure out, okay, what's different and unique to create this look. So yeah, we're gonna test that on a few new listings that I have coming in.
I like that. I like that. And maybe a hire for your business this year.
Definitely, definitely. I've been talking about doing that for years and I've been scared, but now that I've ran the store and understand managing people, I've learned more about the people that I like to work with the most and who I would need to be on my team.
Yeah. Well, that's the multiplier effect, right? Is then we
Yes.
can learn to attract and hire talent and lead them to a high level. That's where things start exponentially growing. So I'm excited for you. Well, what advice do you have? It's a challenging market out there, no doubt, yet
Mhm.
lots of opportunity. What advice do you have for anybody listening who is maybe starting their real estate career, struggling in their real estate career, or thriving in their real estate career, right? I'm sure we have got all kinds of people tuning in. What advice would you give somebody today?
Something that I would give you is to plug into your market center. Like if you were DPR, definitely plug into the market center. We have lots of training. And there's sometimes I raise my hand and be like, hey, there's a topic I want to talk about. Like a few weeks ago, I talked about Chat GPT and I'm like, this is happening, incorporating this into my business. Plug into your market center and plug into different trainings. If there's something that's being trained or taught somewhere else, like at CCAR, go to it and learn more about it. Like most people aren't doing that. You throw yourself into the business, but you're not really always trying to be learning based and continue to learn. So that's the most important thing that I'll say. I think something that I've been doing more of is more so going back into my database. Like I've been in the business for almost 10 years now, so I have tons of clients. And so next weekend we're doing a mid-year celebration, and it's pretty much inviting everyone to come see a movie. We're gonna go see the premiere of The Little Mermaid. So I thought that would be a great movie to go see because I have people that have kids and small kids. So thought that would be great for a family outing. And then too, The Little Mermaid is nostalgia. You know, it's that type of nostalgia that people love. So even their parents would be like, "Oh, I'll go see The Little Mermaid." You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah. And it got full really quickly for it to be a holiday weekend. So we're doing that next weekend, and I get to pour back into people who helped me build my business that didn't even know they were one of like my first set of clients. So
Yeah.
to reconnect and do things like that is always great. And I think that'll at least help me have the conversation going. Even if they don't want to move or anything like that, I love connecting with people that I truly enjoy with.
Yeah. Well, and I think it is a time where it's back to the basics.
Mhm.
It's making sure that we're really getting tight with the people that know us, like us, trust us, right? And
Mhm.
providing that value. And it's definitely not a time to take our foot off the gas. It's time to lean in and to press in.
Right.
There's a lot of opportunity. All
Right.
right. Well, thank you for
Yes.
sharing your heart and your story with us. You are amazing. And I know you are really, truly just getting started. Like, the beginning of your journey, you were only 25. So you're still young.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
The rest of us
yeah.
are getting older and you're still young.
I mean, I take a lot of pretty much I just take a lot of risks. Like I finished grad school at 23 and I was just like, all right, you're pretty much done with school. What else is there to do? And so that's kind of when I really got into real estate. It was like at 23, 24. It's 24 and just went from there.
Well, you're amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm so proud to be in business with you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you everybody for tuning in.
Yes. See you guys later.